The Ojibwe community of Pauingassi is located 300 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg. About 530 people live here, hidden away on the rocky shores of Fishing Lake. It's a very isolated community. The only way to get here from the south is by plane, or in the winter by an ice road, a long and desolate 10-hour drive from Winnipeg.
As with most First Nation communities, the Pauingassi people have made the transition from a semi-nomadic traditional lifestyle to a more modern white-based existence in just one generation. That change has brought benefits, but also problems. In fact, this community is full of contradictions, contrasts, and confusion.
For one thing, Pauingassi is located in the middle of an area of rugged and pristine natural beauty, lakes full of fish and forests full of game. But very few people here ever leave the community to go out on the land anymore, and the village itself is strewn with years of garbage. On most weeknights, some in the community turn out to enjoy a game of softball. But at the same time, many more are drinking or sniffing gas. Ironically, this is supposed to be an alcohol-free community, but even 2 of the elected band councillors have been charged by the RCMP with smuggling and bootlegging. At the new school, almost 100 children are being given the chance to get a good education in modern, well-equipped classrooms. But that's only half the kids in the community. More than 100 others, for their own safety, have been taken from their parents and placed in foster homes, mostly in Winnipeg.
How are you guys doing over here?
We're doing well. How are you doing here in Pauingassi?
Me? Fine.
How is the community doing?
Always good.
Always good?
I think, yeah.
You're telling me the truth?
No, I'm not telling the truth.
And while the people themselves couldn't be friendlier or more accepting, the sad truth is that more than 80% of them are alcoholics.
My sister here.
The reasons for that are all part of a vicious circle that includes unemployment, poverty, despair, and suicide.
Tell me the truth about Pauingassi. What's it like to live here? Tell me the truth.
It's fun. It's not fun. Sometimes, eh? Yep.
What's the fun?
Well, we don't know stuff. Like I think
never go anywhere.
Yeah. Just only my old guys, just like me and her.
Yeah.
We never go anywhere.
What's not fun?
Not fun is like everybody is killing each other.
That's not fun.
No.
Some would say the situation is hopeless, but others, like Eric Kennedy, believe that people here have the strength to improve their own lives. All they need is some guidance.
I don't have no special tools. I have no special wand or a magic wand. You know, all we basically do is discuss planting the seed, so to speak, the awareness within themselves, and trying to give the empowerment back to each family. And once they establish the empowerment, then certain things and events can happen.
As supervisor of Southeast Child and Family Services, Eric's been personally responsible for sending kids out of the community to foster homes, usually because of their parents' addictions. Now he's working to turn that tide around.
My goal, I guess, basically is having all the children back into the community. So whatever we can do to assist and help people, and especially for their children. You know, I'm hoping that these children can turn things around, where there's 3 generations of alcohol abuse, 3 generations of solvent abuse, that these young people can say, you know, stop. Let's make a better life for ourselves here in Pauingassi.
You've
talk, you sound optimistic.
In the child welfare, you have to be. You have to be very optimistic. Otherwise, if you're a pessimist, you're not going to get anywhere at all, whatever you do. And but I guess one of the things with Pauingassi, so many people have come here. So many people have come to the community trying to help out. And I think for us, it's not helping the people. We've learned a lot from these people, from the people from Pauingassi. I thought I knew everything. But, you know, and then one of the biggest things they taught me was that they declare this day my own, and as if it's my last, to live the fullest type of thing. And that's what I learned from them. And I respect that, and I've told them that too.
Eric believes the first step to bringing kids back is to help the parents get straight. So he's built a cabin across the lake, about 4 kilometers away from the community and away from temptation. Every weekend he ferries families out here so they can deal with their problems together, usually around the cooking fire.
So it's a place that they can get away from. It's not locked up. It's accessible to anybody as long as they respect whatever's in there, making sure that they don't go and have a party in there, basically. You know, and so whoever wants to use it, as long as they respect what it's there for.
Everybody does his part.
Yesterday I took a young mother out there yesterday just to go look at the cabin, and another family that I've been working with for the past 3 years, and what she said is this is a place away from home, even if Pauingassi is around the corner, but this is feel as if we're away from home for a while. You know, something to look forward to.
That young mother is Sandra Owen. Sandra has 5 kids, 3 in Pauingassi and 2 in foster care. One of those she gave up at childbirth. The other one was recently sent away after abusing solvents.
So Sandra, tell me something. Why is it important to be out here? A chance to talk about things?
So I don't know, for me, just to get away.
Yeah. Not more than that? Problems to deal with? Things like that?
I don't know, I guess my drinking.
Yeah?
I was worse.
Yeah.
I would go at it every weekend, but now I'd stop for 3-4 weeks.
Is that the main reason you're here, is to help, to get Eric to help you with the drinking?
No, for my kids too. I don't like it over there sometimes because I don't know.
Bad influences?
I guess.
Yeah. What do you think of Eric, what he's trying to do?
I think it's good because I have 2 of my own kids in care.
2 of your own kids?
One of them was sniffing.
Yeah.
And I asked him for his help to take him out for a while.
What are your main concerns for your children living here? I assume you don't want them to start drinking or do sniffing or anything?
Yeah, sniffing. He used to do that too, but not anymore.
Really? Which one?
The orange, Mateo.
In the orange. He used to sniff?
Mm-hmm.
How old is he?
He's 10 now.
How old was he when he was doing that?
9. In last year when those guys were all sniffing, but most of that stopped.
Yeah. They say it's starting a little bit again.
Who's the older one?
The older, yeah. That must be really difficult for you to know that that kind of thing can happen. How did you help? What was his name? I'm sorry, in the orange?
Mateo.
Mateo? How did you get help for him?
I don't know, Eric.
Eric?
Yeah.
When I first got here in June 2005, initially I was supposed to be here for 6 months. Solvent abuse was pretty high, over 63% of the children as young as 4 years old were abusing solvents here in Pauingassi, and they were visible in the community. They were on rooftops during the day and so forth. So with the help of my son and 2 daughters, Kevin, Tracy, and Stacy, they really helped us out here at the community to address the solvent abuse issue. So it took us a year and a half. We basically took the solvent abuse aside. It didn't exist. And through recreational programs, through camp programs, through a lot of activity programs for the young people. And so with the other big piece that we have is alcohol abuse. Alcohol is about 99.9% here in the community. And
in a dry community.
In a dry community. I mean, initially I asked for a band council resolution to see, usually what happens in a dry community, Chief and Counsel develop a band council resolution stating that it's a dry community. I haven't seen that. But, yeah, it's supposed to be a dry community, and alcohol seems to come in, especially at this time of the year, people that bring it in and smuggling, basically, yeah. And that's the biggest downfall for the community. Otherwise, if you remove alcohol out of the community, the people are wonderful, very beautiful people. And but the years of child family, years I've been in child family, alcohol has been my constant battle, and alcohol has always overwhelmed, I guess.
Where's the battle at right now as far as alcohol? It seems, do you have a handle, first of all, on the solvent abuse? Or?
Yeah, but now what's happening is because nothing is being done in terms of recreation for the young people, even the young adults, there's really nothing happening here in the community. So they kind of revert back to, so there's just a small handful of adults that are starting to abuse solvents again. And I don't know whether or not I'll be able to go in the second round because it's a lot of work.
Yeah. What did it entail to bring it down? You said it was a major problem. Now it's a handful.
Yeah.
What did you have to do?
Well, one of the things what we've done is that we began to talk with the children, the young people that were abusing solvents. We'd go into the bush and we'd talk with them and develop their trust with them. And a lot of times poverty plays a big part in it, because when they abuse solvents, they don't have to eat for 4 days. So what we've done through my office, Child Family Office, is that we see which children, which families, and how the larger the families, so we provide food for them. So this way, at least they have food at home. So there's a lot of variables that entail that, to turn to solvent or alcohol abuse. But like I said, this spring, there's just a handful of adults that are starting again, and what we're doing right now is that we have children that are outside of the community. We want to return them to the community, but because of the solvents coming up and the alcohol, I can't do that.
How do you feel when you see people out here, like with their kids? Here they are, shucking corn together and cooking and fishing and everything. What is that?
It's a bonding. It's actually something that, like for ourselves, from child family's point of view, that's bonding with their children. We're doing things with their children, learning with their children. So there's a lot of communication between the parent and their child. Yeah. So there's kind of a lot of like parental involvement.
I talked to Sandra briefly while we were preparing the food here, and she says that with your help, she's hoping that she can get one of her children back that's in care.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, her son is in care, and hopefully by the end of June everything works out, that we'll have everything in place for her son to come back.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Back in town, it's Judgment Day. Once a month, an entire court docket, including lawyers, the judge, police, and any accused, arrive by plane to hold session at the band office. Defense counsel David PHILLIPS has been part of the court docket in this community for 22 years.
Well, Pauingassi is kind of a community that's something of a time warp. It's not that affected by the outside world. It's so isolated. So most of Pauingassi is very much the same as it's been, other than, a few of the buildings change. People I've known for 20 years are older, and now I know their kids. But other than that, Pauingassi is very much the same.
Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
Well, it's not a great thing, because they don't get the benefits that the outside world takes for granted. We have a new school here now, which is a beautiful building. You may have seen it, with a computer lab and whatnot. But generally speaking, the people in Pauingassi don't get a lot of the benefits of the outside world. They have limited access to computers, limited access to, there's no access to cell phones or Blackberries or anything of that sort. They're living in an isolated community. You're somewhat removed from some of the benefits of mainstream society.
From your unique perspective as a defense counsel, though, what are you seeing here? What do you see most? What keeps you busiest here in Pauingassi?
Well, what keeps you busiest in Pauingassi is the fact that alcohol and solvent abuse and other problems of that sort keep the courts busy. I think if this community was able to get in a situation where people were not drinking to excess, where the kids were not abusing solvents, you wouldn't need us here. Because I know there have been times in the past where the community sort of come together and they've stopped drinking, and the business of the court drops by 90 or 95%. But that's only been for very short periods of time, and then we get back to what's unfortunately is the normal situation here, which is a lot of solvent abuse, a lot of alcohol abuse.
Now, solvent abuse and alcohol abuse wouldn't necessarily bring a whole court up here, so why are you here? What do you usually come for when you say alcohol and solvent abuse?
Well, typically what happens is when people are drinking, for example, there's a lot of domestic violence and just other random violence that comes from that. More usually, solvent abuse occurs among the kids, and then you get a lot of break-and-enters where they break into buildings either to steal food, to steal more gasoline, to vandalize the building, things of that sort. So if you take away those two factors, the crime in this community would plummet, really.
Yeah.
We get very few people that come to court that were said to be sober at the time that they were charged.
Today, the court is packed for a sentencing hearing. 3 teenage girls, 2 of them minors, have been convicted of murdering a 22-year-old mother of 2. They beat her to death with 2x4s.
It was a case where 3 girls between 13 and about 19, I think, were charged with beating a woman to death who was just walking down the road. And it's alleged that they were all drunk and for no particular reason beat this woman to death. And there have been a number of incidents like that in Pauingassi. And that's part of what's giving the community a bad reputation, is there have been a string of incidents that are similar. And in a couple of cases, the people died. In other cases, they were very, very badly injured. And the random violence fueled by alcohol is a real problem in this community, and no one's really been able to get it under control. Because the court can't really control that sort of thing. We can sentence people, but the other 99% of the people that are still living here doesn't directly affect what they're doing on a daily basis. So the court can't really control that sort of thing. It's the people in the community that have to step up and decide that it's not acceptable.
This case is the 4th murder in Pauingassi in just over a year. The most notorious happened in August 2007 with the death of 6-year-old Adam Keeper. RCMP Sergeant Jack RAFFLE, who for security reasons asked not to appear on camera, investigated the case.
Basically, the children involved were age 9, 8, and 7, and mimicking behavior that they probably had seen in the community before. And they eventually bullied this 6-year-old boy who they used to play with. They took him down to the lakeside, and as part of their bullying, they stripped him naked, and then they were pushing him around, and eventually got the idea to push him in the lake. And one of the boys pushed him into the lake, and he drowned. The boy was later found by his father floating in the lake dead.
What kind of effect did that have on the community?
I think it shocked the community that this could happen in their community. It caused the press to come up and take a close look at Pauingassi and some of the activities on the reserve. And I think a lot of the people in the community weren't able to look at themselves in that same light.
That press coverage put Pauingassi on the national front page, and many here, including Eric Kennedy, are still angry about the way the community was portrayed.
Any media, like the past 3 years I've been here, media has kind of raped the community.
Raped the community?
Basically raped the community. There was Winnipeg Free Press that was here, and they basically documented what they wanted to hear, not from the other people that talk about Pauingassi positively. And the media has really put Pauingassi in the center of Canada. Like, right, anything that happens to Pauingassi, it's right there, right across Canada. It's right there, right across. Yeah. You know, so basically, the media has really raped the community badly, and really impacted the people here. The last time the media was here, Winnipeg Free Press, we lost. There was a drowning of a 6-year-old boy. Yeah. And the media really slandered the community. And so when he took the families out there to the cabin, and they talked about it, how they felt, and that's basically what they used was rape. You know, how they put their hometown, their home, in such a chaotic,
bad light.
Yeah, and it's not that way, they said.
Yeah.
You know, and so it took us a while to working with them to talk about it. And so when they talked about media coming in or any camera they see, right away they revert back to that feeling again. You know, so I hope that anyone such as yourselves, you know, send a positive message that this is a beautiful place, these are beautiful people. Sure, there's problems, who hasn't? You know, who hasn't? And alcohol, yeah, alcohol has taken many lives of the people in Pauingassi, but so does Winnipeg. Alcohol has taken control of everybody.
Are you finished?
And it wasn't just the native residents who were upset. Cindy Roman has been teaching here since 1990 and says the media coverage was unfair and one-sided.
Do you find this community sort of gets a bad rap?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah, from the media,
I mean, honestly, if you want to know what it's like to be in Pauingassi, live here for at least 6 months straight. Don't leave the community. Don't fly out for the weekends. Come to Pauingassi, live here. Walk among the people, talk to the people, get to know the people, you know, fish with them, go talk to them in their house, have a cup of tea, do all those wonderful things with them. Then you judge them. 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever. You cannot come in here in a day, 2 days, a week, a month even, and even scrape the surface.
Well, you've been there a long time. You've done a lot more than scrape the surface. What have you found?
It just goes right back to basically we're just a small community trying to live together, trying to work together, trying to help each other as best we can with very limited support from anywhere outside. And I think if we're going to get any healing, it has to come within the people themselves, within this community. We can bring all sorts of help to assist in that, but it really does have to come from the community. It has to come from the people who live here.
There was at least one positive outcome of the recent tragedies here. More resources became available, and the community hired Louis Young as its health director.
In April, end of April, we got some money from Health Canada to run a treatment program right in the community dealing with alcoholism. Mostly alcoholism. There are other addictions, but big part of the problem is alcoholism. So we were able to hire 3 additional people to come and work with me to try and confront the issues that they're having to deal with.
Louis now runs his own brand of AA meetings in a building everyone calls the NDL.
I noticed that the building you're working from is called NDL. What's that? What does the NDL stand for?
NDL was a company that construction company that came to build the school.
Oh, so it doesn't really mean much, or?
No, and we were going to take down the sign, and one of them said, why don't we just keep it and we'll give it a different name? And so they did some brainstorming and they suggested New Dream Lodge. So we just kept the sign.
And is it working? Is it a New Dream Lodge, if I could use that?
Yes, I believe so. There are people, and of course they will struggle, you know. I mean, I talked to them about when I was sobering up. I was like a yo-yo, you know, in and out, until one day something stuck. So when they come there and they try to sober up and they have a slip, we say, that's all right, you know. Think about what happened, you know, what is it that made you slip and go back. We have to learn from our experiences. There are people who really looked old before, you know, and after we've been working with them, the stress is off and they know that they're onto something, and you see a physical change in them. They're starting to look healthier and younger, you know. So we believe in some people it is working, but like I say, you know, it's a slow process.
How many people come to these sessions, and what happens?
We take a group of about 9 or 10, and then when we start, we ask them what are their hopes and dreams, what do they want out of life, and then after that we ask them what are the things that stop them from having what they want. And then after that, we look at what are their problems, what are the difficulties that they're experiencing in life. And what it really comes down to is a great sense of personal powerlessness, a sense of hopelessness. And then, of course, it doesn't feel good inside somewhere, and you can't even put a finger on it, you know, it just doesn't feel good all over. And so one of the things they do, of course, is try to medicate, you know, and ease the pain, and so alcohol or solvents or drugs of some sort, you know, to ease the pain. So then we recognize that, and a lot of them will admit that, you know, they seem to have no power over this. So then we recognize that this sense of powerlessness, if that's the problem, then the solution must be power. So where do we get this power? So then that begins actually the work that we do there is how and where do we find this power?
Well, where does that power come from? Does it come from within the person?
Well, that is the thing. You know, we do a lot of teachings from Native perspective, but we also use some Christian teachings, even Eastern. You know, we use the yin-yang symbol. But I also talked to them a little bit about Greek mythology. There was these three gods that had the thing that all human beings desire, the secret, the truth, you know. And they recognized that they couldn't just give it to us because then we wouldn't value it. We had to earn it. We had to look for it. We had to desire it. So they decided to hide it. So then they decided, you know, we'll hide it in the top of the highest mountain. And they said, no, you know, human beings are always searching around, crawling around, you know, they'll find it. Then they said, well, hide it in the bottom of the deepest ocean. And they say, no, you know, they're always diving around. Titanic will sink one day and they'll go looking for it and they'll find a secret. So we have to find it, we have to put it somewhere where it's difficult to find. And one of the gods said, why don't we put it inside the human being? They never look inside. You know, but really, you know, you look at different religions around the world, almost all of them, maybe even all of them, will say that the power is within. And so that's where we have to look.
Is it religious-based, what you're doing?
No, it isn't. In fact, to me, religion is part of the problem. And because religion's so much in the head, you know, they read a book and, you know, they use the head, and it doesn't go inside. We try to be more spiritual, where we look within, we try to find quiet, you know, we try to find peace within, and within there comes from the solutions that we're looking for.
Most of the people who live here aren't used to talking to strangers about their private lives, or for that matter, even talking in English. Day-to-day life here is carried on in Ojibwe. But some, like pitcher Jerry Crow, were happy to talk, especially about his baseball team.
Are you the coach?
Sometimes I'm a coach, yeah, sometimes, yeah. I work.
So how did you do tonight? Did you win or lose?
I lose this
You
time.
lose,
You
huh?
lose, but the new team's coming there.
It doesn't matter, though,
It
does
doesn't
it?
matter to me, you know,
No, that's cool.
as long as it's not baseball tournament, you know. We just practice there.
Yeah, so this isn't a tournament tonight.
Yeah,
This
no,
is just
no.
for fun.
Just for fun, you know,
All right.
to get exercise, you know.
After the game, Jerry invited us back to his home.
I was just looking at your house here.
Yeah.
How old is it? It looks almost new.
2 years, I think 2 years. I think so, 2 years, yeah. It's 2 years old, I think. The
And
house.
it's you and your wife.
Yeah.
That's just the two of you.
Yeah, and our house is in Winnipeg.
Your child in school in Winnipeg?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good. And how old is he? Is it a son?
It's a girl.
A girl?
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's about 14.
Yeah, in grade 10 or...
Oh, about grade 10 or grade 9.
Is she going to finish high school, do you think?
I think so, yeah.
That'll be something. Would you be proud of that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you describe living in this town? How would you say it is to live here?
Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better in here, not better in the city, don't do nothing in the city.
Yeah. You've been to the city, I'm sure?
Yeah, I've been city all the time,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always come back here?
Yeah.
What is it that makes this so much better?
It's better here.
Why is that?
Because we go hunting, fishing, we'll do anything what we want. We play all the games too.
Baseball
or floor hockey, badminton, what do you call those? And volleyball, they play all those people here. Yeah.
It's good to see people playing games with each other, that kind of thing. Yeah. It seems like a community where people are close together. People know each other and help each other.
Yeah, they help each other here. Yeah. We're not mean each other there. We're happy each other here in Pauingassi, a whole family. Yeah.
Of course, everybody says too that there are problems here in this town. A lot of people problems with alcohol, drinking, that kind of thing.
Yeah, sometimes, not all the time. It's just only sometimes.
Hi.
Later, Jerry graciously invited us in to meet his wife.
Yeah. Jonathan. And nice to see you. Thank you for letting us come in the house.
Yeah.
Do you have pictures of your kids? Are they on the wall? Oh, here.
Yeah.
Can you show me your pictures?
That's my daughter here.
Uh-huh. She's the one that's at school in Winnipeg?
Yeah. And this one is our family right here.
So who do we have here? Is you?
Jerry and Marianne and Sherry.
Okay. And Sherry is, where is she?
Winnipeg.
She's the one in school?
Yeah.
Wow. We have lots of pictures here of family.
Yeah. That's his son here. That's his son.
And this here, is this one of your sons?
No.
One thing Jerry and Elvis have in common is they both sing and play guitar.
Sing a song, Where Could I Go?
Where could I go?
Yeah, Where Could I Go? Yeah, sing a song, one song.
Okay.
Where could I go? Oh, where could I go? Singing refuge to my soul, needing a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go? I did alone, living below an old single world. How comfort can I fall? Driving along, I'm dead to the shore. Where could I go? I did alone. Where could I go? Oh, where could I go? Thinking refuge for my soul, needing a friend to help me in the end. Where could I go? I did alone. Good, eh?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Are you
But why would you want to go anywhere when you've got all this?
Yeah.
The newest building in Pauingassi is the school. There are 92 students here from nursery to grade 9. After that, kids have to finish high school in Winnipeg. Newfoundlander Jim Leonard is the principal.
Just kept on going.
This new school is absolutely beautiful. What's the story behind this? I mean, even this part here, the sort of teepee design.
There was an attempt made by the engineers and the consultants to involve the community in the design of the school. So they came in and asked for suggestions, and the community wanted some things like the building facing east. They wanted a circular area in the beginning when you came in, and then to top it off, of course, they put the TP up there. The building is named after Omishush, Charlie George Owen. He's deceased now, but he was very, very interested in education. So when the people heard there was a new school, the suggestion was to name it after him.
Yeah. And how long have you been principal up here?
This is my second year as principal. My 7th year in the community, but my 2nd year as principal.
What kind of changes have you seen in this community over those 7 years?
I'd say the biggest change is the fact that I'm more accepted, right? You know, other than that, I don't know. I think that the younger people who are growing up are more aware of the outside world. They're not as isolated in their way of thinking about what's going on. There's a sort of an attitude that's beginning to develop that it's okay to continue and graduate through school. We've had only 2 people from this community graduate from high school.
The school is also used as a community center. In the evening, the gym is used by adults for sports like volleyball. And there's also a large kitchen where every morning food is prepared for all the school kids.
What do you say?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a breakfast program for the kids, so the cooks start off in the morning to cook a meal for the kids. And that works on a couple of different levels. One, that gets the kids into school, right? But it also gives them something in their stomach so they can start off the day fresh.
What's the main push here at the school as far as educating these kids?
That's difficult to say because when the kids come to school in nursery, they speak primarily Ojibwe. Right? They know some English, picked up mostly from television or out playing around. So basically they start learning the English language here in school. So that's one of our primary functions, is to make them as conversant in English as they are in Ojibwe. The Ojibwe spoken here is one of the purest forms of Ojibwe that dates back. It's even older than the other forms of Ojibwe in other communities. People have come here to study the language because it is an older form of the language.
So is there a concerted effort to keep the language alive here, to keep the culture alive, or is it just part of the natural order here?
It's just part of the natural order because the kids are so versed in it, because Soto, they've called their variety of Ojibwe, because that's spoken solely in the homes, in the community, at the meetings, everything else. There's no insistence on keeping it alive in the school because they do it naturally.
Is that somewhat unique for a community to have its own language like that and for it to be so prominent?
Not that it's unique, but that it's so prominent, yes. Right. We're one of the few communities left where language is not an issue, in the sense that it is very strong here.
The language may be strong, but many other traditional customs have been lost. So the school uses elders from the community to run a native culture program.
The community has hired 2 people. Right now there are 2 males to come in and take each class of kids out. They get a 2-hour session once a week. They go out into the woods. They learn trapping, fishing, ice fishing in the winter. They learn to paddle canoes. We have a skidoo for the winter. We have canoes for the summer and fall. So they try to teach them as much as they can in terms of what's still useful and knowable to them. And, of course, to give them the Ojibwe names for things they may not know, because if they stay solely in the community, they're not going to go into the woods, or the bushes, they call
it. Jim says motivating these kids is hard work, especially with a lack of role models in the community.
Because of the low level of education, you don't have to have any particular training for any of the jobs. Which makes it sort of difficult here in school, because we can't point to people and say, so-and-so is doing this job because he's got his education, you know. So when the kids say, oh, I don't need to come to school, it's not going to do anything for me, we really don't have an argument in terms of gainful employment as a result of education. We can only talk about it being a good place to be, a safe place to be, you're learning something new, you're with your friends, you're having fun, that kind of thing, right?
And hopefully one of these kids, or some of these kids, they'll be role models for another generation. Is that the plan?
That's my hope, right? And it's the plan of the community. I keep telling them,
I want you to come back. I want you to be a nurse. I want you to be a doctor. I want you to come back as chief. I want you to be a lawyer. And they look at me and they go, ha! You know, they don't believe they can do it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's detrimental because they need to first believe that they can do it.
Right.
You know? We've got a bunch of kids in Southeast College right now doing grade 10 that I think may be our first strong group of young people who might have an inkling, oh yeah, I can do something.
That's in Winnipeg, isn't it?
That's in Winnipeg, yeah. And because we only go to grade 9, that's where we send our kids after that.
How do they deal with being in Winnipeg? I mean, it's a different environment, and the family's not there.
Yeah, it's a difficult adjustment for them. They're mostly 13, 14 years old, right? They're away from home. They do have a residential school, right? Southeast College is a residential school. So all of the people who go there are First Nations from the surrounding communities.
Of course, residential school, not in the traditional sense.
No, in the sense that they live on campus. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So they have a great period of adjustment. Some of them get very homesick. Some of them don't make it past the first 3 months, and they're home. And then it's an effort to try and convince them to go back the next year and try it over again. Sure. Right? Yeah.
Every now and then, though, an event comes along at the school that raises everyone's spirits. For the first time ever in Pauingassi, a student has become a published poet.
We had a young girl in grade 8, Cassandra Bushy, enter a poetry contest, Canada-wide poetry contest, and her poem was one of the ones that was chosen to be published in a book. So, I mean, that's big, you know. This is a young girl who's never done anything before, and they're like, this is your throne, you may sit here. And so we're having a little celebration this afternoon. We are going to present her with a framed copy of her poem. We're going to give her a copy of the book that it's in, and we're going to get her to sign a copy for the school. Now, look out at the camera and smile. The poem is called I Am, and I think the opening line says, I am a girl, a sister, a native. And she talks about her relationship with her family in particular and how much she cares for them, even though sometimes she doesn't show it. And she wonders if there is happiness, especially for her and her family. But it's sort of deep, you know, right? Yeah. Especially for a girl in grade 8, right?
That's great.
Yeah, and it's second language too, right? It's not even first language, so that makes it all. I think it's in English, yeah. So I think that makes it all the more deeper, really, you know, because she's struggling with words and concepts that are like something that she has to formulate. Right? It doesn't just flow out. Thank you very much.
Is she going to read the poem for us? I understand she's a little shy.
She's way too shy. I've been almost a week teasing her now, and she won't give in. So I'm going to get one of the local DAs to read it for her.
Honey. I am a daughter, a sister, a native. I wonder if my mom and dad are happy. I hear a native song called Nipin. I see my family. I want my mom and dad to stop fighting. I'm a daughter, a sister, a native. I pretend to be mad at my mom and dad. I feel sorry for my mom. I touch my mom and dad because I love them. I worry about my cousin because I love her. I cried because my mom is alone. I'm a daughter, a sister, a native. I understand my mom and dad love me. I say, leave me alone. I dream about native life. I try to teach my teacher some native words. I hope my sister will be happy. I'm a daughter, a sister, a native. By Cassandra Bushy.
I'm going to see what I'm going to say.
Okay. All right.
Not no bad words, no nothing.
Okay.
I'm just going to say something for my community, man.
Say it from your heart.
From my heart, yeah.
It's all yours.
Hold on.
Like almost everyone in Pauingassi, Eli doesn't have a job. In fact, there's only about 40 jobs to go around in a community of more than 500. Poverty here is chronic.
All I want to say is poor out here.
Poor?
And people don't know what to do. The only reason why kids out here in Pauingassi are sniffing because their parents are not taking care of them, eh? I wish I could do something about that. I'm not a chief and counsel, eh? The chief and counsel don't do nothing, man. They don't do nothing. They just sit around and go on to want a pig. All I'm trying to do is, I'm a role model out here, eh? Role model. Out here in Pauingassi. I shall help these kids to grow up to be a better person, eh? Not to take that thing. I'll call it a thing.
You're talking the sniffing gas, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and drinking.
And drinking?
Yeah, I'll call it a thing.
Did you ever used to do that to yourself? Do you say this from experience?
Yeah, I used to do that myself. I used to sniff before. When I was like 80 years old, man, I used to sniff, eh?
Stop now?
I used to do that for like 5 years. But then I'll stop.
I think it has become, for the majority of them, a life of dependency. And in my mind's eye, that's not a good way to be, right? Because you're dependent on others for pretty much everything, for your existence. They still have a subsistence form of living in that they fish and they hunt and they gather. But they rely heavily upon the Northern Store. They rely upon welfare checks. They rely upon unemployment insurance, right? That particular aspect, of course, brings with it a deeper feeling of not getting ahead, not getting anywhere, of just sort of being bogged down sort of thing, right? So for the people who are here, unless they have a drive within themselves to do something or go somewhere, it's hardly going to come from the community itself.
Do you speak English a bit? It's expensive? A lot of money? 92.40?
Yeah.
90% of the community are on social assistance, getting at most about $250 to $300 a month.
That works out to about $10 a day. So imagine you have a family of four liters of milk, $11.69. 2 liters of Pepsi, $10.99. The cost of living here is unbelievable.
The main reason for the high prices is transportation costs. Everything has to come from away, and that includes smuggled alcohol. Bootleggers charge $12 a beer and $100 for a bottle of rye. Many believe the bootleggers control this community like the mob, and even Chief Harold Crow admits people are scared.
There's no need for all the time. They have the
There
right.
is terror, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've talked to people in the community here, and it seems that a lot of them don't want to talk to us on camera because they say they're afraid. They're afraid of the bootleggers. It's almost as if, you know, that there's organized crime running it. They're afraid to talk against them. Is it come down to that people are afraid to even talk about it?
I think you're right, because most of these bootleggers some of them are program people, which you know, like sometimes I don't know.
Do you find there's a bit of a conflict in all of this? Because according to the RCMP, 2 of your band counselors have been charged with smuggling and bootlegging. One of them, they told me 3 times. Does that cause a conflict for you, a problem?
It is a conflict because the people, you know, like they have this bad custom, The band custom is supposed to be addressing this. We have a group of people that are supposed to be advocating for that thing. You know, like these people are supposed to be dismissed.
What's happened? Why are they still not dismissed? I mean, they're elected officials, right? But then they've been. The major problem seems to be alcoholism, and two of what I think you only have 3 band counselors. 2 of them have been charged by the police. That must be a problem for you.
Yeah, it is a problem, but it's not really. Like one of the things that I find out, you know, like most of our band bylaws are not really enforced. They're not really even respected in court. You know, like I've been a band counselor for 15 years of my life, and I enforce those things, and they've always thrown them out of the table. Says you don't have no right. And then a lot of my times, the leaders at that time said, "Well, we have a right." You know, then the Constitution comes in, the Charter of Rights and the freedoms. And then they start exercising those constitutions. You have more people that are running off their mouths and shooting off the things that they're not supposed to be doing.
But these counselors, these are guys that you work with every day.
Yeah.
And you look around and you see the problems here caused by alcohol, and then 2 of your own basic staff are guys that are involved in this.
Yeah.
It seems so counterproductive.
Yeah, that's right. Because again, you know, like when you... And a lot of my times I don't know what to do sometimes, because the justice was supposed to take care of that. You know, like I'm looking at the justice people. What are you supposed to be doing? They have these CONs, and the person still makes those things, you know, happen. And then I talked to the band members. You're the ones that elected these people. I'm giving you total authority there to get rid of them. What do they do? They have these bigger families, which has a better leverage.
Life in Pauingassi isn't easy, but some things are getting better. A few new homes are being built, and older ones are being repaired by some local carpenters.
There are some excellent workers here in the community. For example, there's a housing project that's continuously ongoing here, building new houses and repairing other ones. 3 or 4 of the guys have worked there since this started 6-7 years ago, and they work faithfully every day. And they come to work, they work all day long, and they enjoy working. And I think a lot of them enjoy having something to do. And that's one of the reasons why I think they drink, is because they have nothing to do at certain times, right? Yeah. But like if there's church on, and sometimes we use the school for that, they'll come to church, and they'll spend the whole night singing and praying. If there's bingo on, just about everybody in the community will play bingo, you know, over the radio. So like they like to have something to do, and they like to be involved, they like to be social, right? So I think that if there were other ways of employment, that you would find a greater percentage of people who would be willing to work and stay working, right? The thing is that there are, like you say, few jobs, and they sort of go around in a circle.
There's also a few clerical jobs at the health station, which provides the community with a range of medical services.
This is our emergency room. So we see patients in here daily, but also for emergency purposes, and everything's more at hand's reach in here. So it's actually it's a well-equipped, fully equipped for everything that we seem to need it for. Okay. And then as you go down here a little bit, on the left here is our X-ray department. So we do have all of our own we take all of our own X-rays, and we develop them here. But following that, we always send them out for a radiologist to interpret as well. Regardless of what we see or don't see, we always follow up with them.
Okay. Is there a doctor on staff here all the time? Or?
Not all the time. A doctor comes in every 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah. And then to the right is just one of our basic clinic rooms. And so you see it's like a regular doctor's office that you would come into. Okay. So if you go across the hall to our left, this is our lab. And this is where we bring in all of our bloods, any of that sort of thing. And then send it out to the city for analysis, and we get all of our reports back from there. Okay. And just down the hall a little bit further is the dentist office. Dentist is in about once a month, I believe it is. So, and again, this is a fully functional dental office. So anything that needs to be done, the dentist can do, and beyond that, he would refer out as well, or we would refer out if need be. So.
Okay. And I guess you have a fully equipped pharmacy and everything like that?
Pharmacy as well. We have another treatment room, and then our fully equipped pharmacy is here. And anything that again, that we need to order from a pharmacy or Grand Medicine would come up from there.
And for years, the tap water here has been contaminated and undrinkable. But now a Quebec company is installing a new state-of-the-art filtration system.
It's dangerous. There is a coliform freckle in the lake. So we put an ozonator system just down there to kill the bacteria in the waters.
So how long has it been like that? How long has the water not been drinkable here?
Oh, I don't know, but probably since a long time, yeah. Probably since 10 years, I can say.
So this is a big change.
A big change, probably. The population will be happy about that.
But this is where the real hope for happiness lies. These school children represent Pauingassi's future. If they're able to get a full education and learn to overcome the myriad of social problems that have been handed down to them, then life for the people of Pauingassi can only get better.
You know, we've spent a bit of time here now, you know, not very long, obviously, but I mean, we've spent some time with the kids and some people in the community. We've seen people at the baseball games or playing volleyball or going fishing with some of the kids from the school here, and they all seem so good, so happy, so friendly.
They're very humorous people. They love nothing better than to tease the living daylights out of you. And they will. Every chance they get, I'm living proof. Right?
Really?
Oh,
For
yeah,
example?
they will do. You know, they'll tell me a story. And it sounds very plausible, right? Until somebody else will start laughing at them and you know you've been led down the garden path, right? It can be about anything, fishing, hunting, what they did last night, how much money they won at bingo, how much money they won playing cards, right? Anything. They just love to lead you down the garden path, right? So, like, they're great people to be around.
Sounds a bit like Newfoundland, doesn't it?
Quite a bit. Like I said, the people remind me of home, you know. They do. Yeah, they're very happy people, essentially, right? Now, I know that they aren't happy when they're drinking and as a result of the after effects and everything else, but like when you get them and they're living for the moment, they're happy people. Yeah, they are.
I believe that when you work with the healing of the people, the bootlegging will fall away. You know, the drinking will fall away. I believe that at the core of the problem in Pauingassi is a spiritual disease. It's a spiritual illness. I mean, a lot of people know about the body, you know. They know about the mind, you know, because they use it every day. And they know about emotions, but very few people actually look at the spirit, you know, and that is what we have to work on. If we work on the spirit, the other three areas will naturally fall in place. When I see somebody laughing and having a good time, and when I see them starting to develop a sense of hope, that's the reward, you know.